What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and today I'm bringing to you some test hands of my Ogdoadic Mitsurugi deck for Genesys format. This deck has a lot of capability to do a lot of crazy combos. It has a lot of capability of setting up some good negates and interactions with your opponent that can really force you into some tough binds based on what you're going against. This deck has a lot of capability to go farther than most others, even though it did get hit a lot on the most recent points update. But I still wanted to bring it to you today and show it off what this deck can do. Alright, let's go ahead and hop right into this. We're basically going to start off with us going first for the first two test hands, and then us going second with the final one, so I can show you a little bit more of what we're doing. Alright, so for our first hand, we get Mitsurugi no Mikoto Saji, Mitsurugi Sacred Boundary, Futsu no Maitama no Mitsurugi, Snake Rain, and Curse the Ogdoadic Light. In this case, we're going to go ahead and activate Mitsurugi Sacred Boundary. We're not going to utilize its effect fully yet, but this way we could bait out something for later on. We'll go ahead and activate Snake Rain, pitching Curse if we need to. Well, since we're going to need to, so we'll pitch Curse and send 4 others. In this case, we're going to send Naya. I butchered the name either way. Alert, Elliot, Nunu, and then I get to send one more, which we'll go ahead and put the graveyard up here real quick. So we have one more to send. In this case, since we're wanting to set up interaction with our opponent, it's either going to be Aaron, depending on what you know what your opponent is running, or Anicia. In this case, we're going to do Aaron, so we can do a hand rip if we need to. Next, we'll go ahead and special summon the Nunu, tribute the Nunu to summon Curse, which will banish the Nunu. Then we're going to use Curse effect to revive Noya. Noya will then trigger, getting us Ogdoadic Water Lily. Then we'll go ahead and tribute Noya to summon Elliot. Use its effect to place these 2 back in the graveyard. All right. So from here, we'll go ahead and normal summon Saji. Saji effect to get us a ritual spell or a Mitsurugi spell or trap. We'll go ahead and get Mitsurugi Ritual. And then we'll go ahead and activate Mitsurugi Ritual, allowing us to pop 2 from our deck. So we'll go ahead and hit no Makoto and Kusanagi to ritual summon from our hand Futsu. And we'll put Futsu in defense because we don't want him getting really hit if we have the option to, because he's going to be our revive if our opponent activates a card or effect in chain. Then we'll have a new chain since Aramasa and Kusanagi. So we're going to do Kusanagi to add ritual back from grave to hand, and then Aramasa to add from our deck to our hand. We're going to go ahead and add us a Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi. Since we already have a decent amount of monsters here, we have a lot of capability of going a little bit further. However, I want to go ahead and set up another thing here. So we're going to go actually ahead and tribute these 2 to summon Aaron. That way we get the hand rip. If this card's in the graveyard, you can tribute 2 monsters. Special summon this card if your opponent adds a card to their hand, except during the draw phase of the damage step. You can send 1 random card from their hand to the graveyard. If a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 light or dark reptile monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So this can get us recursion into getting us more of the Mitsurugi cards if we need them or not. Next, we'll go ahead and activate Mitsurugi Ritual again, allowing us to Ritual Summon using Futsu, summoning Ame. Futsu effect Engrave. We'll basically get to add a Mitsurugi card. So we'll add Great Purification and then get to special summon it back. So we'll go ahead and special summon back Futsu. Next, we'll go ahead and activate Water Lily. Water Lily is going to allow us to send one, and then since we have 5 or more reptiles in our graveyard, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can then ritual summon, or not ritual summon, special summon it from the graveyard to our board. The question is, do we want to go for another Ogdoadic card, or do we want to go for another... So we could do either the Ogdoadic play and get Amnesia out onto the board. That is sounding so bad. But the other play that we could do is getting Reptilian Quotal into the graveyard and being able to then synchro up into a bigger one, which basically makes it to whenever our opponent activates a monster effect, we could drop their attack to 0 and negate their effects. So it's really dependent on what we want to do overall. We'll go ahead and send Amnesia. Goodness, I can't say their name. And then we'll special summon one reptile monster from our graveyard, in which we'll go ahead and summon the one reptile we want onto the board. At this point in time, we can do a couple of things because we are reptile locked based on it. So we'll go ahead and instead just get Curse onto the field as well. Then we're going to go ahead and activate Amnesia effect, tributing Saji and Ame. Bring them to the graveyard to summon Amnesia. Ame will trigger, getting us another Mitsurugi card, and it'll summon itself back. When it is special summon, you destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So, that helps out a lot. Even though you've already probably activated that effect on its ritual summon. Either way, if you haven't, you now can. So it can help out a lot. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and grab us another Mitsurugi card. We're going to go ahead and get us either a Magatama or a Saji for recursion capabilities. In this case, we'll go ahead and grab the Saji instead of the Magatama. The Magatama works as a good pop, but you're going to understand why here in a minute, because we're next going to activate Sacred Boundary, shuffling back Saji, Ritual, Kusanagi, and Aramasa, and then we can force our opponent to then tribute a monster they control. So we got the Ritual back into play. We have capability for a lot of plays next turn. We have the capability of tributing off one of our monsters for the Great Purification. We have a interruption / negate through Ame. We have a hand rip, which is Aaron. We have the send one from, if a monster is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special summon light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard. So that helps as well. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you can send one card they control to the graveyard. So this helps as well. So basically keeping all that in loop. And then this basically makes it to where we can go through and target one reptile monster our opponent's in our graveyard and special summon it whenever our opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step. And we have Great Purification, then we have Saji for recovery on the next turn. If these guys get tributed, we have ways to bring them back, which is basically a lot of recursion and capability of just keep popping and keep interacting with our opponent. Purification gives us a negation. and we could tribute this to blow up their board again, or we could tribute the curse to give us just a free body so we can keep the negation. Either way, we have a lot of capabilities with this board and for the next turn, where depending on what we draw, so we draw Noya, we have the capability of getting the Ogdoadic Water Lily, sending another one if we have more spots, and really playing through a lot of issues. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and hop right into our next test hand, where we're going first. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I was incorrect. The first one we had last game, we were not reptile locked, except for when we had Nunu on board. But anyways, for our next test hand, we got Noya, Ogdoadic Water Lily, Reptilian Quotal, another Reptilian Quotal, and a Mitsurugi no Makoto Saji. So we have capabilities of doing further plays, which can allow us to further our hand and go into more of a board-breaking state. In this case, I can show you a lot more on what we can do. So, for first up, we'll go ahead and activate Ogdoadic Water Lily. We will go ahead and send from our deck to the grave, if I can find them. And we'll go ahead and send the Nephilabyss, because he's just a big boy that can get us a lot of recovery as we go further up into our plays. We'll next go ahead and normal summon Mitsurugi no Makoto Saji, activate the effect to add us a spell. We'll go ahead and get us a Mitsurugi Ritual. Then we'll go ahead and special summon the Reptilian Quotal. Reptilian Quotal, since we control Dark Reptile, we can special summon it, then target if any of our opponents have monsters with 0 attack. We can special summon a number of reptilian monsters as well. Up to that, we're going to assume there is none, since we're going first. And in this case, we have the capability of going into Reptilian Melusine, if we would like to. Or we can go through and do Code Igniter. Code Igniter is a new card that I added because I was looking through some of the yummy deck builds and everything like that, and this came up. It was really interesting to see how it works, but basically it's a free way to ritual summon from your hand using monsters that you can usually not get onto the board. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and activate Mitsurugi Ritual. Before we do this, using both Noya and Quotal in hand to get us a Ame no Murakumo. Then, since we had cards trivia from our hand but were sent to the graveyard, we can special summon Nephilabyss if we would like to. We'll go ahead and summon him in defense. Then we'll go ahead and follow up with Reptilian Quotal and Mitsurugi no Makoto Saji and go into our synchro of our Reptilian Melusine. So, right now we have where we'll summon in defense, not in attack. But if this card was synchro summoned using only reptile monsters, it cannot be stored by Valor card effects. Once per chain, when your opponent activates a monster effect, except during damage step, quick effect, target one face-up monster opponent controls, change its attack to 0. If this synchro summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, add one reptile monster from your deck to your hand. So we'll summon it in defense instead because it's 2800. In case they somehow have piercing, but they have to either bounce it or really interact with it to deal with that. But we're dropping everything's attack to 0 if they activate any kind of effects. And Ame makes it to where they have to interact via... So if they want to activate an effect that we want to negate, they have to discard a card at least once per turn. And the other thing is, if either of these leave the board, we can activate Nephilabyss' effect. If you control this card that was special summoned from the graveyard, you can target one monster in your graveyard except Nephalibis and special summon it. So, but we are reptile locked until the end of next turn. In this case, we'll go ahead and target Noya and revive it. And then activate Noya effect to get us a Ogdoadic card, which is a spell or trap. And we'll go ahead and grab another Water Lily. We can only activate one per turn, but it gives us capability to continue our plays anyways for next turn. Either way, that's not really that much as it looks like, but we still have the interaction in which we could still do other things. Note, I did mess up the actual summon capability here. So when this is summoned first, you would have to activate the effect to revive the Noya or another monster in your graveyard to do those plays. However, end board would be similar to this if you would like to do it that way. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for the second test hand. Let's go ahead and take a look at our third and final one, which is us going second. Alright, guys, let's see what our final test hand is going to be. We got a Noya the Ogdoadic Remnant, a Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi, a Reptilian Codal, a Mitsurugi no Mikoto Aramasa, a Snake Rain, which would be a really good starting hand either way, and then finally we got Mitsurugi no Mikoto Saji. Okay, so in this case, let's go ahead and pop off. We'll go ahead and activate Snake Rain, sending the Noya, and then send from there. We'll go ahead and send the Nunu, Elliot, along with the, where's Curse? Curse. And then finally, we will go ahead and send, we'll do the big boy. We'll do Ogdo Abyss because he's going to be funny, in which we can trigger off 2 effects if we can get him out. But either way, next we'll go ahead and activate the effect of Nunu Engrave, summon it, and then we're going to tribute it, which will banish it to summon the Curse, not the Elliot. Curse effect to revive Noya. Noya effect will get us a Ogdoadic spell or a trap, and we'll get Ogdoadic Water Lily. We'll activate Water Lily, allowing us to send a in this case, we're going to want to send something that we don't want to have hands on with. So the easiest thing that I can think of is probably the Aaron or Amnesia. We'll go ahead and send the Aaron because it is a 2500 beater. And then I misplayed that horribly. So we're going to hold off on that. We're just going to hold on to the Water Lily. I'll place the Aaron at the bottom because we're not going back into the deck just yet. But you'll see what I mean. We'll go ahead and then tribute this to summon the Elliot, banishing the Noya. So walk it back. We have the Water Lily in hand. And then we'll go ahead and activate the effect of Elliot once it's special summon, placing those 2 back into the graveyard. We'll next go ahead and normal summon Saji effect to get us a spell, which is Mitsurugi Ritual. In which case we can activate a few effects if we would like. In this case, we'll go ahead and activate the Mitsurugi Ritual summoning from our hand by distributing monsters from our deck, which will be we'll go ahead and do Kusanagi in Aramasa. Trigger 1, trigger 2 on New Chain, since we have Murakumo now. Aramasa to add us a Mitsurugi monster. In this case, we'll go ahead and add Futsu. Chain 2, Kusanagi, or chain 1 will be Kusanagi adding back Mitsurugi Ritual. since we are not reptile locked just yet, we'll go ahead and then special summon Reptilian Codal, since all we control are reptile monsters. And here's the fun part in what you can do. You can go through and then do the effect of making a rank 4, such as our Code Igniter, which will allow us to ritual summon using monsters from hand or field by detaching one monster, which we're going to do. So we're going to ritual summon, tributing Ame. Ame will then come back, summoning Futsu. So we're going to first ritual summon Futsu. Ame effect, since it was tributed, allows us to add a Mitsurugi card from our deck to our hand. In this case, we'll go ahead and add Great Purification. And then we'll go ahead and activate the effect of Ame, since we added that card, to get it back. It's all in the same effect. Basically, when it's tributed, you can then add a Mitsurugi card, then special summon this card. So, in resolution of that, we have these two on board, plus Code Igniter. We'll next go ahead from here and tribute these three for Ogdoadic, Ogdoabyss, allowing us to bring back Futsu. Note, we would have already blown up the board with Ame. If we didn't, we have the capability of sending all monsters from field to the graveyard that weren't summoned from the graveyard this turn. So we have our graveyard filled to the rim with reptile monsters right now. But since we've already done that, we'll go ahead and activate Water Lily to send one. In this case, we're going to go ahead and send Aaron, which is the one I was talking about earlier. We'll go ahead and send Aaron. And then since we've done that, we can revive another monster. In this case, we'll just go ahead and revive the Aaron so we can put more damage on the board. And right off rip, we have Great Purification, Mitsurugi Ritual, and Mitsurugi no Makoto no Aramasa, Mitsurugi no Makoto Aramasa in hand for next turn as well. While we also have Lethal on board to allow us to further do damage to our opponent. So overall, we have the Interrupt, the Hand Rip, the Send All quick effect that aren't monsters that were summoned from the graveyard, and then the Revive a reptile monster if our opponent special summons a monster during their turn or just in general, except during the damage step. So we've already wiped the board. We just swing in for game here, which is just 32, 25, that's already 57, 31, that's 80, 57, 88, 11,300, 13,300 points of damage direct. Plus we have Great Purification, tribute one of our reptile monsters for further interaction for our opponent's turn. Given if they have no cards in hand, or depending on how much they have to interact, they've got to play through at least a decent board break of this amount, which could greatly impact them and prevent them from playing in general. Anyways, guys, I hope you all did enjoy this test hand video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Is it okay if I'm to say I'm catching feelings from all the dealings? Am I astray? What do you say? How are you feeling? Is it the same?